Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we will be talking about the basics of Hispanic genealogy research. I'm Charity Rouse. I'm the Director of Local History here at the Spartanburg County Public Libraries. And beside me, you will see my colleague, José Pereira Gonzalez.
Good job.
He has been instrumental in helping me gather the resources. I already closed the who's here, but does anyone online need the Spanish language?
Ya, ¿alguien necesita la traducción en español? ¿Queremos hacer esto un poco más cómodo para los hispanos parlantes o lo podemos hacer más cómodo para todo el mundo? Así que si necesita la traducción en español, por favor vaya al chat y escriba en la palabra español. Dice, write in the chat the word Spanish, and we continue in Spanish and English.
Okay. Awesome. And if you're seeing this recording afterward and would like Spanish language resources, please let us know. Tonight, we are going to talk about getting started, look at what you already know or have available to use in your research. You may have more things at home than you think. So gather the information about yourself and your ancestors. So anything you have sitting around the house, as well as birth, marriage, divorce documents, immigration documents, death documents for previous generations. Then ask questions of older generations if they are available for you to ask. Determine the locations of life events. And then we'll show you a couple examples of forms to use, such as a pedigree chart and a family unit chart. So you can also draw your family tree out, and Jose is going to talk a little bit about this and how it came about.
Yes, okay, this is my family tree. I built this family tree 25 years ago. That's me probably need to make an update. The most of the people in this family tree, they don't live more with us, okay? If you see the green area and the color probably purple, this is my mother's side. If you see the orange side with the purple, this is my father's side. That means it's very long. This document have at least, I think, more like 9 feet. No, more like 9 feet. And I tried to scan, and we cut the scan in half. Okay. And I built this family tree for only one reason. The person, the pastor, the female pastor I want to marry me and my wife, she say, hey, you need to know your background. You need to know what kind of elites running in the family, how people smoke, how people die with cancer, how people make many crazy things before you take marriage. This is the reason because I built this family tree. My wife made her own family tree. We discussed like like a family before marriage. Yeah. Okay.
And so there are ways to do family trees in the drawing format, in pedigree charts, in online environments such as Family Search or Ancestry or Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker or other places on your computer that you download these programs to help you organize. But as you get started, you have to start with yourself.
Mhm.
So record the basic information about yourself. Think about this as practice for the next generations. So you want to write down your birth date and location, the names of your parents, places you have lived, dates that you've lived there, and then marriages, if marriage or marriages, if applicable. Things like where did you attend school? And maybe where you worked. I don't have that written on the slide, but, and then list your children if you have them. And then you move back one generation. These are my parents. They took a semester's class on how to do fancy ballroom dancing of a older time period, and the final exam was dressing up and going to the ball. They didn't dress like this normally, but don't they look distinguished? Start with one parent, fill in their information, and then do the other parent. And again, it's these birth dates, locations, their parents' names, any marriages, divorces, death, if either of them have been deceased, schools, workplaces, locations lived, and then children with that spouse or other spouses or other parents as the family situation warrants. And then you move back one more generation. These are my grandparents. And pick one family line to work on first and at a time. Don't try to do everybody at once. It's not going to work well. Do record siblings' names, brothers and sisters, so that you know you are working with the correct family, as there may be other people with the same names in the same area at the same time. And you need to be researching your family and not someone else's family, because, you know, you can spend a lot of hours on that. And it may be helpful to search for parents' names by looking at death certificates or marriages of siblings and not just your direct ancestor. So doing family research really can help you confirm that you've got the right parents and all of that kind of thing. And so another resource that you should look to and listen to in the early stages and as you go through your genealogy research are family stories and oral history. So interview older family members if they're still alive. Ask about their lives, not just about the common ancestors. Prepare open-ended questions about topics of interest. You may want to know how they decided to immigrate, if they immigrated from one country to another. You may want to know what it was like growing up in the country of origin. What were their jobs, different things like that. Sometimes they want to talk about something different than what you are interested in, but you may learn something you didn't even know to ask about. Remember that some people have better recall of details than others. My grandmother couldn't tell the same story the same way twice with the same details, and usually most of them were made up. However, when Jose was working on his chart, you had an aunt who really helped you.
Yes, I have one aunt, and she have a mental problem. She have a schizophrenic illness, but with this, when she don't take the medication, she can tell more details to genealogical tree and stories like nobody can tell in the library. No, in the family, you know, that means she don't have any filter. And I took advantage and I wrote and learned more about my DNA, my family tree. Like probably my father don't know the story, or another aunt or another sibling, they don't tell me.
Right.
You know, that means any simple detail probably looks simple, but you can take advantage and learn more if you continue to make more research. Yeah,
definitely. In today's situation, you can record with audio or video, take notes, whatever works for you, and then see if you can verify the situations discussed. As most of what my grandmother ever said was incorrect information or very small amounts of truth, and a lot of made up stories, or a lot of 5 people smushed into one story. So it's hard to pull out what the actual facts are. But in Jose's case, he had someone who knew the stories and was accurate in their retelling. And this is a picture that has from my great aunt to my great grandmother, her parents and her grandfather. So lots of generations, 4 generations in the picture here from the Eastern Shore of Virginia. So a pedigree chart, I mentioned this earlier, and it's the direct line of you to your parents, to their parents, to their parents. We have these charts. There's a copy in your packet in the chat. You can download that from the link. And if you have questions through this, please put them in the chat so that we can answer them at the end. And so the pedigree chart, you'll notice, has a little blank at the top. And you start pedigree chart number 1 with you, work back to your great-grandparents, and then whatever side of the family you are working on first, they start on, that person, that great-grandparent starts on chart 2. And that way you don't have to carry around the huge 9-foot-long chart. You can just carry around a folder that has multiple pages in it. But it helps you refer back and forth to the different generations. There's also a family unit chart, and this helps you get the brothers and sisters organized. If you have multiple marriages, you can choose to do multiple family unit charts for each of the marriages, particularly if there are multiple children in each of those families, or you can choose to incorporate the chart on one chart, just list which parents are, which wife or husband is the common person for the children on the chart. And you can make notes about different things in the notes field, military service or immigration status, or whatever information you want to use, church affiliation, etc. So in the Hispanic diaspora, which we never really defined what that was. So people who share the Spanish language, is that a good explanation?
In this society, we have a different names. Some people call, say, Latinos, Hispanic, Latinx. You can believe between us, we call Hispanic or Latinos, but we don't bother any of the names.
Okay.
That means it's the name like someone from outside of the group call us.
Okay.
But what don't bother us. That means you can call me Latino, Hispanic. The difference between Latinos and Hispanic is the Spanish speaker and people from Spain, and the Latinos is the people that speak Spanish, and the people like living in Brazil too.
Okay.
That's included the people from Brazil, like speaks Portuguese. Okay, but for us outside of our countries, that's the bother us. That's me. You can call me Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, whatever. That's the bother me. Okay? But the most important is like we use one system for name us, for put the names. We don't create the system. This system is coming from Spain. All Spain colonies in the New World use the same system. That means Brazil is not really a Spain colony. That's probably they use a different system. But another countries, you can say Mexico, Colombia, Panama, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, use the same way for naming the people.
Okay. So in these naming conventions, there's the use of 2 surnames. The father's paternal line is first in the child's name, and the mother's paternal line is second. So an example is Rene Colato Lenas. Lenas.
Don't worry, you're good.
I'm trying hard. I don't speak Spanish. This is why we have Jose here to help. Sometimes you find that these are hyphenated, but it's not typical, but you might see it that way.
In US, we use the hyphen.
Okay.
In US, but in our countries, you don't need it because for us, it's normal.
Right.
When it's normal, why you use a hyphen?
Right.
Yeah.
So just know that as you research, you may find that differs place to place. Women historically and still in some places like Puerto Rico, do not take their husband's name. That may be changing over time, but don't be surprised when the woman is using her own name on documents like naturalization, immigration, passports, etc. US Census takers may or may not catch that the last name is not the same. So you may find sometimes the woman listed with the husband's name, whether or not she actually used it that way. And as I said, children receive dad's paternal surname as their primary, mom's paternal surname as their secondary. So sometimes the usage changes because the dominant European culture is not always as flexible. Maybe, yeah. And our records, our forms here in the United States don't do well with two last names.
No.
Not always have enough spaces to put both in the last name space and things like that. So it's just one of those things where.
I want to use a quick example.
Yes.
My wife, she born in New Jersey. Her parents are Puerto Rican. That means her parents have two last names, both. And when she born in New Jersey, in her birth certificate, have only one last name because she born in New Jersey. When she moved to live in Puerto Rico, when entered to the school, in the school, they write the second last name. That's not real, her legal name. That means any school diploma have a two last name. When she returned to US and tried to find a job, her employer asked, why, if your name is this, your diploma have a two last name? You need proof that her passport have a two last name because they made with the driver license. But her birth certificate have only one last name and the social security one last name.
Oh,
yeah.
So that
confused
thing and make life difficult for the person as well as for those doing research. And this is, come on, computer, it's being slow.
Okay. We find a good slide, a good example from the State Library. Like you can see how easy it is to understand why the Latinos have a two last name with colors. Okay, go ahead.
Well, the last names, and you see the on the left, the father's last name, or the father's name, Antonio Hernandez Vargas, and the mother, Maria Rodriguez Lopez. And you see the child as Jose Hernandez Rodriguez. And so, and then there's a really cute children's book that Jose shared with me that is on the slide with Renee has two last names. And it walks you through at a very good introductory level. We do have this in our collection here at the library, and you're welcome to check it out.
But if you're working with the Hispanic genealogy, you need things in the second last name, because this is the clue. You can get more detail and more specific details about one person, like if you have only one last name. That's a very useful, because it's more easy tracking the specific person. Don't tracking three people like probably call Jose Gonzalez, because we have millions of Jose Gonzalez, but probably you don't find we have a few Jose Gonzalez Garcia. Okay.
And so it helps. It helps.
That reduce the possibility that you make mistakes.
Yeah. And so you have two families automatically to be looking at of the four grandparents. So that does help immensely. So as you begin to look for documents, you want to think about where was the person, what dates or time period, decade, if you don't know exact dates, was the person in that location, because it can help you target your research. Think about events. When did it happen? When was the birth? When was the marriage? When was the death, etc. And then you can focus in on that for that particular document. What records are available? Are they available online, or do you have to order them from a governmental agency or find them in a family Bible or from a church. And then you need to request the document.
Even though in some places like speak Spanish, they have the new technology for have these records online. You can request knowing all countries.
Right.
But probably you don't need to travel to the place of origin for find the information. Yeah.
Right. And US states also, you don't always have to go there. You can order it. Sometimes you have to mail in. Sometimes there are privacy restrictions for who can get the information within a certain time limit. So you have to check that place by place by place. And it differs state by state. It differs country to country. So we can't cover all of that tonight. So we're going to look at some examples of birth records, and different countries ask different questions, just like different states in the United States ask different questions.
Yeah, in this paper, we can see the last name, second last name, the name of the father, name of the mother with both last names, the time like born, the day like born, and also the nationality of the parent. That's good, because if in some people, like the soldiers, like the soldiers, you are in military bases and you move to another place, or you are in transit, like that's happening this time with some immigrants in Central America are in transit. That means you can find all this information in different formats. This is from Honduras. What is the next?
The next one, if I can get it there.
Okay, this one is from Bolivia. If there are two different certificates from Bolivia, that means sometimes the new ones have a more information. Most of the time, they all have a more information like the new one. That means
Depend on the country.
That's correct. And in this example, you can see the name of the parent, the name of the mother, the father, the mother, were born, and the state and the department. The department is important because the municipalities and the state have a control. Not really the federal government have a control of this information. That means they manage from for local office and not really for the big offices.
Okay, so like in South Carolina, marriages are on the county level, and we do file them now with the state, but the marriage record is at the county level, but births and deaths are at the state level. So these departments are going to be similar to that division of some countries. The department would be like a county?
It's like a state.
Like a state.
It's like a state, but example, Mexico have a great example because in Mexico, the birth certificate from one state is not the same and not have the same information like another one. And we have one example in the presentation, like they require, just depend the state, they request more information or less information. This one is from Chile, very simple birth certificate. It's only the day, when born, the name of the mother. In this case, you don't see the name of the father.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That can make things hard if you don't have both parents, but just because that is the expectation doesn't mean all the information is there. And here's where we get the very different Mexican.
That's from Mexico government. It's different blank. One provides more information, but I love one example on you. Yes, because I see that. On your right side, you can see in this birth certificate, you can see the abuelos paterno, abuela paterna, abuela materna, abuelo paterno. That's the grandfather's last name in both sides. That means if with only one of these papers, you can create your birth certificate more easy, like in another place or another state. Okay, that means it's amazing because in not too much birth certificate they require the name of the grandparent. Okay.
Yeah, usually you don't get the grandparents at all. You just get the parents' name if you're lucky. So it's a very cool thing. And again, just because it's what we think of as a standard form doesn't mean it's standard across all of the places in the world where you might be looking.
If you see, sorry.
Oh.
If you see in the previews, the next page have a lot of more information about how many months the mother carry the baby, if they have a vaccine, the education level of the parents, because this is a great opportunity. Birth certificate, the mother's coming, and this is the only chance that you have for grab the most information possible, and you can use for demographic programs later. Okay.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So it looks pink to me, the one on the right.
That's correct, yes.
Has a lot of information, not just about the birth itself, but about the health of the mother and the health of the child and that kind of thing. Is that one of the more rural states
They
in
use
Mexico?
they use this now.
Oh, this
Yeah,
is now.
the actual,
Cool.
yeah, actual.
And
In the beginning, you can believe here is mandatory. The student go to high school. That's
Mhm.
right. But in some countries, that's not real. That's not true.
Right.
In some countries you need make the elementary grade or middle school. But in the past, like I think it's changed in 1996. I'm not sure, but I think it's
okay.
in 1996 for people from Mexico it was mandatory study to middle school, not to the high school. Now they change. That means with this birth certificate, we can know if more people with more high degree have more babies or less babies. That means it's more information like they can provide for create programs
Mhm.
or for another purpose. Yeah. Mhm.
So it helps with social service needs. It
That's
helps with knowing education
Mhm.
needs and those types of things.
Yeah.
See, I learned stuff too. And then this is Puerto Rico.
That's the Puerto Rico. This is good because it's Spanish and English. That means if you manage the English, you can see in the side the certificado de nacimiento, certificate number with my accent. Yeah, of course. Yeah. They birthday, description, the where you born, the birthplace, where born your father, and where born your mother. That's good.
It's helpful.
That's good. That's a very simple detail.
Mhm.
Like, by the way, my mother born in one time, she born with a midwife. And the midwife, they living like 1 hour and a half, no, sorry, 1 day and a half from the register.
Okay.
That means the midwife, she don't travel every day for make the inspection of the baby. She travel probably one time every month or every 2 weeks or every 2 weeks. But my grandma say, I want my daughter name it Nilda. And when the midwife arrived to the inspection place, she named it Clotilde.
Okay.
My grandma, she don't read. That means she thinks her name was Nilda for years. My mom's certificate, diploma say Nilda, and when she's ready for take marriage, she asked for the license. She discovered her name is Clotilde. That means my father be in love to Nilda and married with Clotilde. Yeah,
Why? You know, it happens.
that happened.
Here's an example of a way to find a marriage record. This is Puerto Rico, and these records are on familysearch.org. And this is the catalog listing. What I did to find this, under search, I chose catalog, and then I went to Puerto Rico, and then I chose marriages. And clicked in, and okay, they have marriages in Puerto Rico from 1811 to 1874 in this particular collection. I clicked on the first little digital camera down there that's a digitized microfilm, and these have not yet been indexed. So if you search by name, you're not going to find your people in this. And so when I clicked into that, I pulled up this sheet.
Mhm.
And it's a slightly larger version of it. It is 1828, 1829 Spanish in a clerk hand, and you're gonna have to work to read this. You're gonna have to figure out what it says. A lot of times these records have kind of standard boilerplate format. but sometimes they don't. Sometimes the person writing it is just writing a narrative that says this person and that person came before this judge and they on this date and they got married. And sometimes you get more information, sometimes you get less information. So
But I read something in this paper, like say the story about this person like born is the legal born.
yes,
Because in some of our countries, you can recognize one son or one daughter, but some fathers don't recognize.
Right.
So that can change the rule.
Right.
Yeah, because if the probably if the mother take Mary again, she can adopt another last name,
Mhm.
or she want use a new last name for the son of the daughter. Yeah, yeah.
And
Make a family so proud. That's right.
you know, we all have stories. Some are more interesting than others. This is another example for El Salvador. This is a Catholic church record from 1940. You will also sometimes see registers that have a grid format, a chart, but I couldn't find any when I was looking. But I went into the record, and the bottom left, number 559, is this marriage of, I didn't transcribe it very well, Salerno Pereira. I had it earlier. But again, this is a narrative, but it tells who they were, who married them, when, what church they were in. And so you may be able to find some good information in these records. 1940 is relatively recent for some of these records. A lot of the ones on Family Search are prior to 1900. So, now also on Family Search, I found this from Mexico. This is actually births and deaths, but I was using it as a death example. But this in 1924 had been transcribed and printed and typed and printed from very early church records. So this record includes information about some of the very first Spanish immigrants to Mexico.
Also, one of the details I can see in the first page, say, probably you can see the letter like say Arenas, Joaquin, and they say it's a conspirator. That means you need to check the time, because in some of the places they have a revolution. That means you can get more details. He's a conspirator, probably he's stuck in the jail, and you can find in the jail register. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Like anybody else, if you break the law or you get called into court, there are more records.
That's correct.
Which is a lot of fun. And then there's also a larger collection on Family Search for Mexico deaths. It covers the time period between 1680 and 1940. In the red line in the middle at the end, it says an index for these records is available online, like here. So some things are not indexed like the previous two, but this one is indexed. So I clicked here and it took me to this Mexico deaths collection. I typed Pereira in and clicked in on, I believe, the first one, but you get the index here. And then, but it does tell me that to view the image and see the document that is indexed, you are going to have to do some hunting on the page or within it'll get you to kind of the right place, and then you have to do some work to find it. It's not going to be a highlighted, here's your record. And so they are really working to index all of these records at Family Search, but they've got billions of records and it takes time to index. And a lot of the handwriting is hard to read, just saying. So we also have border crossings. Naturalization and immigration, you often see, oh, what ship did the ancestor come through Ellis Island on? Well, all of the border crossings keep records too, and these are more recently available online. This one is from ancestry.com, and it lists, this is from 1903, and it lists on the left-hand column the date, the number on the list. So on that page, your person 1 through however many lines are on that page, your name in full, age, gender, marital status, calling or occupation, whether you can read and write, nationality, the last, and I think language is in there as well, the last permanent residence, country, city, or town, the final destination, whether you have a ticket to the final destination, who paid the passage, and then whether they are in possession of $50 or how much if less. And just like from the ships, they were trying to keep the super paupers who were going to end up on the Social Security rolls that didn't exist then, but that's our modern equivalent. They were trying to keep those freeloaders out. Whether they have been to the US before, when and where, and whether they are going to join a relative or friend. There are a couple of questions that were very popular in the early 1900s and late 1800s, whether they are a polygamist or an anarchist, and the condition of their health, if they're deformed or crippled. You'll see there's a lot of blanks in the demographic. Once you get out after the country and location, and they weren't bothering to ask those questions at that border crossing at that particular day. But on the very far right, in a column that is, if they are deformed or crippled, what is the deformity, they actually have written in method of arrival. And so I can't read all of them, but one of them is they came in on the railway. So RY. So it's just one of those situations where sometimes you get information you don't anticipate on a record, and then sometimes the information that you expect isn't there. And then another record to look at, and again, this is on Ancestry, and it is a declaration of intention from Washington State, of all places, but Albano Pereira.
Albano Pereira, good job.
Occupation, he's age 30, occupation cook, color white, complexion dark, height 5'6", weight 131 pounds, color of hair black, color of eyes brown, born in Lisbon, Portugal, so in the diaspora, and then and his birth date was 29 August 1888. He now resides in Washington State. Immigrated to the US from St. Vincent, Portugal on the vessel Carmen. Last resident was in St. Vincent, Portugal. He's not married, intends to renounce all allegiances to Portugal. Arrived at the port of Providence, Rhode Island, about the 25th of July, 1900. And there's a statement that he is not an anarchist, nor a polygamist, and that he intends to become a US citizen. So you may find out information that you didn't know. In this record, we find out he came into Providence, Rhode Island. In 1900, all people talk about is Ellis Island. There were plenty of other ports around the country that people were immigrating through. So don't let an assumption of where they came in, and he came in through Rhode Island and ended up in Washington State. Those are on opposite coasts. So there are also records between those two places, or transport records, that may be able to be found. By 1900, we did have transatlantic railways, so we may not be able to track some of those things down. But these ports of entry can be very helpful. So land crossings, sea, but you got a physical description. So, hey, very light, let's see, he was considered to be white, but his complexion was dark. He was 5'6" and 131 pounds. So, and he was cooked. So you get some occupations and some next places to look. So,
Hey, he can be white, but if he travel in a boat and the boat take a few weeks
yeah,
on the other side,
he might be a little
that's
paler than
perfect.
usual.
Mhm.
Yep. So, let me get to the chat and see. So, there is a question of Gonzalez is Jose's mom's name.
That's correct. That's my mom's name. My mother's name is Clotilde, but everybody call her Nilda. You know the story now.
Yep.
Gonzalez is her father's last name, and the second last name is Perez. Her mother is Perez. That means she's Perez because two cousins marry, or the people from the same neighborhood
Yeah.
marry, and they are Perez. Yeah.
I have a shoemaker.
Okay.
So, yeah. And let's see, let me make sure I didn't miss another question.
I just put out a notice, if anybody else has a question for either Jose or you, Charity, to post it, but I haven't gotten anything yet.
Okay. Any questions in the room? And one of the things that I have learned through this is knowing the types of documents I was looking at, I could start picking out some of the keywords, matrimonial,
Marriage.
that kind of things for the marriage.
Baptism.
Yes.
The baptism, yeah.
And some of these records may also be in Latin if they are Catholic Church records. Up until 1960, whatever, when Vatican II happened, everything was recorded in Latin in the Catholic Church for the most part. Some priests did the local language. So you may have to find out some keywords to be looking for in these records. And you can figure out some of the more standard language to figure out, okay, this is a father so-and-so doing the baptism or the marriage or writing the record, as opposed to it's a judge or clerk of court would be the English, but those types of things that you can start getting comfortable with the documents.
I do have not a question, but just a comment. If I understand correctly, the naming conventions for Hispanics includes both the mother and father's paternal surname.
That's correct. Paternal, yeah. We lose, in this combination, we lose the mother, paternal, mother's last name. Yeah.
Well,
But because the wife doesn't change her name, you at least retain.
But
exactly. And that's what I was thinking. You guys have so much more information than we do based on birth certificates that only list the father's name and the mother's name. You're missing those other two names. You see what I'm saying? So you're lucky in that regard that you have 4 names to look for, whereas we only get 2 and then have to find the other 2. So that was really interesting. Now, Nellie just posted something and it says in Russia, the middle name is a father's first name and last name is a father's last name.
Okay. Is that for both males and females?
Not sure. I'm going to copy and paste this and put it into you so that you can look at it and make sure you're understanding what she's asking. And oh, okay. So somebody said yes. So Nellie said yes.
Because sometimes in some naming traditions, you
it's cultural.
It's the males get the grandfather's first name or middle name in a sequence. And then the females get the grandmothers on the
Right.
maternal side. And
Right.
so it just depends. So, but that's
But I
really
like
cool to
that,
know.
that the middle name is the father's first name and the last name is the father's last name. So they're not naming the son or, well, it doesn't say whether it's a son or daughter or both or whatever, but the first name of the child would be the middle name of the father in Russia.
Okay.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Good information to
Mhm.
have.
It is, it's really neat. I mean, you went over surnames and how they're used in a presentation that you did several months ago.
Yes,
That I
back in the
thought was
spring.
really, really cool.
Yep. And you can
as
find
far-
that on our YouTube channel.
Yep. And as far as other questions, there are no other questions, but it was a very interesting presentation, and I'm glad I was here for it.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Jose,
It's a
for
great
helping
question.
me with this. And Nelia is our Russian language specialist, and she and I are going to be talking
You can,
sometime soon
you can invite me here, yes.
about Russian
Uh-huh,
stuff, because
that's it.
Spanish, I have a better shot at figuring out than Russian, but you know, I'm always up to learn something new.
Mhm.
We do have a few items in Spanish for genealogy. We've got we try to order what we can find, and we haven't found much for Spanish language genealogy resources, but we do have some resources. Please feel free to reach out to myself or to Jose, and we'll be glad to help you and research if we don't know the answer right off. So thank you so much for being here tonight, and we'll see you next month for census records from 1790 to 1890.
Gracias, Jose.
Are you welcome de nada? Oh, buenas noches.
Yeah.
Gracias, José and Charity. Ronald.
Okay, Cheryl.
You want me to
Can you
stop the
stop
recording?
the recording? Yep.
Record this stuff.